Welcome to the second page of section 5.2. We will do the first two problems in this video. All right, so we're talking about two quadrilaterals being similar. Notice I've already labeled them to save on time. So we are trying to find x. So when I look at this picture, I notice that we don't have all the angles in one of the figures. But we know, because of the markings and the fact that they tell us that the quadrilaterals are similar, that the angles are also congruent. So let's go ahead and, just because we have more room, label this one. This has a single line, and this has a single line, so we know that those are two congruent angles, and we'll label that as x. Likewise, here's 4 more arcs, so this one has to be x plus 35. Now you have to remember, in a quadrilateral, what do the angles all add to? Well, maybe you know 360. If you don't remember that, think you could form two triangles, and each of those triangles would be 180. So 180 plus 180 is 360. So we're going to say the measure of angle H plus the measure of angle J plus the measure of angle L plus the measure of angle K equals 360. And then it becomes algebra. We're going to say x plus 50 plus x plus 35 plus 2x minus 45 equals 360 degrees. Notice I left the degree sign off to make it a little easier. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and add up all like terms. X, 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 and 2x. That's going to give us a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5x. And then we're going to add up 50 and 35 and minus 45. I'm going to do these two first. Those two together will give me 5. And then add that to 35 will give you 40. And that all equals 360. So we need to move things around. We're going to subtract 40 from both sides. And we get that 5x is equal to 320. And then we're going to divide by 5. And we find that x is equal to, 5 goes into 36 times, then bring down the 2. 5 goes into 24. So what I was doing here was this. So 6 gives us 30, subtract 20. Okay, so we have 64. And that's all they ask us to find, just x. Okay, on to the second problem here. These triangles are similar. We have ADE similar to ABC. So the little triangle and the big triangle. We're also told that DE equals 5, so let's label that. AD equals 8. This is just this part here is 8. Okay? And then we're told that DB is equal to BC. Okay, so these two sides are congruent. Okay, we don't know what they measure. Let's go ahead and call them both x, just to make things a little easier. We are supposed to be finding the length of side AB, so that's this whole side here, AB. Okay, well, we're going to have to set up a proportion. We know that. And we know that it'll be little triangle over big triangle, so let's go ahead and start with that. Little triangle over big triangle. Okay, so when I look at the little triangle, I know side DE. So let's go ahead and put that side down, that we know side DE. That is 5. So what does that correspond with? Well, this side here corresponds with this side here. If you're not sure about that, look up here in the relationship. DE corresponds with BC. They're the last two. Okay, so that would be x there. Side BC is x. Okay, now we have to know another piece of little triangle. Well, we do. We know 8 is that side. So we have to think, okay, what side would that correspond to? Well, this side in the little triangle corresponds with this one in the big. If you're not sure, take a look. What does DA correspond to? DA would correspond to BA. Okay, so what would BA be? Let's go ahead and just write BA for a second here and then try to fill it in. Well, BA is going to be equal to this piece here, which is x, plus this piece here, which is 8. Okay, now we can go ahead and solve the proportion by cross multiplying. So x times 8 is 8x, and then 5 times this quantity, so we need parentheses. So then we're going to use the distributive rule. Okay, so we get 8x equals 5x, and then 5 times 8 is 40. And then we'll subtract 5x from both sides. And what will we end up with? Well, 3x on this side, 5x's go, and a 40. Okay, so that's what we end up with there. And then we're going to divide by 3. And that gives us, well, we got to do 3 into 40. That goes once, and then 3, and 1. So 13 and 1 left over, so 1/3. Okay, well, if you remember, x was standing for this side BC or this side BD. So I'm going to say BD is equal to 13 1/3, because what we were asked to find was AB, this whole piece. So we now just found that this was 13 1/3. So the whole thing would be equal to, let's make it look like that. This part here, 13 1/3, plus that part there, 8. So AB, we know, is equal to BD plus DA. Or BD is 13 1/3, DA is 8, so altogether we get 21 1/3. And that's the answer. Okay, go on to the next video for the last 2 problems.